Mr. Jakob WIENEN, Miss Gudrun MOSLER-TORNSTROM, welcome to our Mediabox plateau. You are rapporteur on the report of local and regional democracy in France, which is discussed during the Congress 30th session. I think firstly we should underline that this is the first report on the state of local and regional democracy in France since the country's ratification of the Charter in 2007.
Yes.
Firstly, I would like to start with Mr. WIENEN to explain us and to give some details on the progress. So let's start with the positive points concerning France in the framework of local and regional democracy.
Yeah, well, there were certain periods that we wanted to make a monitoring visit to France, but it was not possible because always there were reforms in their way. And now, this time, we said, okay, we will now have this monitoring visit, and we have seen that there were certain reforms who just have been finished and are now integrated in the system. So we are glad with that, because France has a very interesting but also very complicated system with 4 layers of local government in France. You have the municipalities, you have the cooperation of municipalities, commune de municipalité, you have département, and you have regions. And so 4 different layers, and it's always difficult. And what we have seen is that there was a new law making it more easy for municipalities to merge, and a new law to force them to cooperate in commune de municipalité, and so to have enough power to deliver civil service to the inhabitants. Because if municipalities are too small, then they must work together in a bigger area, and then they can give the services to the people. So that's a good point. Then the government has said we want to make a better division between the tasks of all these layers, because now sometimes all 4 were in the same questions were involved, and they say it's better to make the département especially for social questions. The regions who must be stronger, they must be foremost for the economic questions, and the municipalité and the commune de municipalité, they are more important for the daily life and the space where people live. So I think we have a better working of the French system now after the reforms.
But beside that, you also mentioned some concerns on local and regional democracy in France. Mr. Rapporteur, could you detail a bit these concerns and give some examples on that?
Yeah, a number of our report was the lack of consultation in merging the regions. The regions were merged and we got many complaints from different parts of France that there was not enough or non-consultation, and this we looked closer to, and let's say this is a big minus in our report beside all the pluses we have found, as my colleague already said. And this lack of consultation, we looked closer to it, and we found that we have an article in our charter every member state signed. It's Article 5, which says that there has to be an appropriate and good consultation of the authorities concerned. And you cannot read this article by itself. You also must read another article. It's Article 4. There we have a paragraph 4.6, which shows the scope of responsibilities of local authorities. And if you put those two paragraphs together, we found, and we were thinking a lot and discussing a lot about this, that there was a violation of those articles. So we recommend the French authorities to improve this consultation mechanism, and I'm sure they will take a step forward.
So if we understood well, the Charter of Local Self-Government is very important on that point, and you also mentioned in this report. And what are the other recommendations that you ask for French government or local authorities to do in this monitoring?
Yes. Let me name several. The first one is finance. It is in nearly all European states, it's a very important point that we say municipality can only be autonomous when they also have autonomy in fiscal affairs and they have the possibility to be responsible for their own financing. So we have asked the French government to make it more clear that the municipalities and the local government has its own right in fiscal matters and in finance. Because now the central government often says, okay, this part of the national tax is for municipalities. But we say it's better if the municipality can make decisions in this respect for herself. That's one thing. A second thing, that is that trying to have each layer of this local government more clear, the French government has said we had a general clause about the competences that each layer has its own right to be involved in questions. And then they said, well, that is true for the municipalities, but it is not longer true for the département. And we have said, well, that is not the way in which you have to clarify the tasks of these organs. If you have a directly elected body, it is good that this body can for herself say, okay, we want to say things about certain questions in our resort. And we think that it is better that you give certain tasks to, for example, the municipalities or the département, and not to say you must not be involved in questions which are not given to you by the central government. So we have said you should bring back this general clause to all the layers of the local government. That's better than what they have done by now, by abolishing it for the département.
Maybe we can finish with the reaction of the Congress members and especially French authorities, because I think it was a hot debate that happened. So what are your observations on that? Maybe we can finish on that, Madam Rapporteur.
Well, I think the main point or the main negative reactions, there were good reactions, and but the negative one was that we were talking about the violation of Article 5. It was thought it was too hard expressed, but we have used this in several other countries as well, this expression, when we think it's necessary to point out very clearly where things have to be improved. This was the one thing. The other question was the general clause. My colleague just talked about it. There was I heard in the speech of the Secretary General a completely different approach to this question. Thank you. I will look at it closer again. I mean, we have voted on this report, but nevertheless, it's an interesting question. And concerning the Article 5, the merging of or the No, concerning the Article 5, the non-consultation, I would say that we have a general question to go deeper in the Congress, because this question is raising very often. It's the tension between an international treaty signed by the member states and the national law. So how do they fit together? How are they in balance, or where is the tension? And we have seen it in other countries as well. So this we have to look closer in it with our independent experts. So every report shows where we can improve our work, and we want to do that because we are not judges, we are friends. We try to help each other to improve our rules of law, our approach to the Charter. And this is what it's all about. And so this is not the end of a report. There's a possibility of post-monitoring. There's a possibility to go on and discuss further on the recommendation we have given.
I would like to thank both of you for joining us. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.